So today what I want to try to show you guys how to make is a really delicious stuffed bell pepper. And I don't always make it the same way, I always like to switch it up. So today what I'm going to do is cook separately some, first off, the turkey, ground turkey for this. So it's nice and lean source of protein. I'm going to finish it off with and top it with blue cheese, onions, sliced shiitake mushrooms, scallion, and of course organic brown rice. And so that's it. Those are the ingredients for. One of the first things you're going to want to do is you're going to want to get 2 pots ready. One is going to be for boiling the bell peppers. So you want to make sure you fill that with about 3 to 4 inches of water, so that the bottom of the pepper is going to sit in the water, but the top of it's just going to steam. Alright, and I'll get that right on the stove. Now the second pot is going to be for your rice. The rice is going to have the longest cooking time, so that's what you want to work with first. So what you're going to do with that is set up your serving sizes. So for this here, I'm going to cook just 1 cup of rice. So I'm just going to measure that out. And this is brown rice. So a little bit more. There you go. There's a cup. Okay, so you've got your cup of rice. And what you're going to do is you're going to soak that and wash it. Just with a little bit of water at the bottom. And you're just going to stir it. This is going to get all of the unwanted imperfections from the outside of the kernels. You can see that the difference between white rice and brown rice is brown rice still has that husk on the outside of the grain. So you want to rinse that, make sure that some of the starch that's sitting on the outside is off of the exterior. That way it cooks evenly and it actually steams down to the core of the grain. So I rinse that. Then what you're going to do is you're going to actually measure out 2 cups of water. So when you're cooking rice, you're going to want 1 cup of rice to 2 cups of water. That's 1. There's the second. So it'll look something like that. Okay, next step. After you've got the 2 pots of water on the stove, 1 with the rice and 1 that's just empty, getting ready to steam these peppers. Okay. The next thing you're going to do is just cut the top right off. That's it. So take a knife, it's right down the top. So once you've got your peppers trimmed off, the top's trimmed off, and the core cleaned out of it, what you're going to do is bring that over to the pot of boiling water and just drop those in one next to each other, slap the cover on, and then drop the heat down. Now, perfect timing. On this other side I've got this water that has the rice in the bottom of it. That's boiling. So what I'm going to do is keep the top somewhat on and drop the heat down to about a 3 or a 4, okay, on my dial. And I'm just going to let that come down so that it's not boiling over the top. And once that settles down a little bit further, you throw the cap back on. Let that sit until all the water is steamed right out of that pot. So now that we've got the rice and the peppers set up to cook, we can start to cook some of the other pieces to this. at the same time. So next step that I take is taking a non-stick pan with a medium to high heat, a little bit of canola oil at the bottom so that nothing burns, and that should be heated up in about a minute to 90 seconds. So now that that pan is nice and heated, I went right ahead and threw that ground turkey right into there at a nice high heat, and I'm just going to let that brown on each side, and just season that pretty heavily with those black pepper and basically whatever seasonings you want to incorporate into it. Now, I'm not a huge fan of seasoning with extra salt, so I just like to use the pepper and the no salt seasoning. And we're just going to cover that right up. That should be good. Again, this stuff tastes awesome, so don't cheap out on it. You're going to want this turkey to sit for about 2 to 3 minutes at a time, and then once that time lapses, you're going to want to keep flipping and keep breaking that down smaller and smaller and smaller. The reason being is you don't want to end up with huge chunks of turkey and very small pieces of vegetables in your stuffed pepper. You want to have some type of consistency. So the rice is just about done, and the peppers look pretty good too. So I'm just going to cut the heat right off of the peppers and let those steam up just for a few more minutes. Total time on those is about 12 minutes, okay? The rice is just about the same time at this point. They're going to need a little bit longer than the peppers, though. So now that the peppers have been going for about 15 minutes, we're just going to stick a pair of tongs in there and make sure that they're not too firm, but they're still holding their structure, because remember, we have to be able to stuff those. You can't have peppers that are falling apart. Okay, I'm going to take these out. See, that is perfect. And we're just going to throw that right in a bowl with a couple of paper towels so those can drain. There you go. So there's the peppers. The rice is going to take a few more seconds, but we're going to turn the heat off on that and let that just steam off with the leftover moisture that's left in the rice. The turkey's going to need probably about another 6 minutes, so that in total, that's going to be about a 12 to 15 minute cook time on the ground turkey. Every 3 to 4 minutes you're going to be flipping and breaking that down into smaller and smaller pieces. No raw turkey allowed. It'll give you salmonella poisoning. So the turkey's just about done and cooked through on pretty much almost all of it. About 95% of it's done. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a wooden spatula and I'm just going to start almost shredding that down into smaller and smaller pieces. Now you can leave some of them larger, some of them smaller, but you want to have almost every bite to be about the same. So right there is just about perfect. None of that meat is rare. None of it's raw. The heat's going to come right off of that. We're just going to take that right off the burner and let that cool down. So the rice is ready to come off. It's perfect. I'm just going to throw that right in another bowl. And set that aside to cool off. You're going to want to make sure that all the ingredients that are going into your peppers are completely cooled off before you go to stuff the peppers. The reason being is that you already boiled those bell peppers, and if you leave these other ingredients hot, they're just going to overcook from the inside out and become a big mushy, basically a mess with no diversity of texture. So again, let all of the rice and the turkey cool down completely before you go to stuff your bell peppers. Alright, now that we've finished up cooking the peppers and finished steaming the rice, what we're going to do is come back to the other ingredients for prep. So first thing we're going to do is slice and clean an onion. We're going to slice that right in half. We're only going to use half an onion for this. So what we're going to do is break that right down. And the first cut you're going to make is almost like a fillet. You're going to slice that about 1/4 of an inch to 1/8 of an inch. Then what you're going to do is run through this way towards the end, straight down. Same dimension, 1/4 of an inch. Just like so. Okay? Then you're going to turn it on its side and you're just going to start slicing. Watch your fingers, and all you're left with in the end is the trash. And you've got all these perfectly sliced, same dimension pieces of red onion. So that's done, right in the bowl with that. Next piece we're going to do is the mushrooms. So we're just going to open this package. Now these come pre-packaged from any store. But you never want to trust the store with cleaning them. So I'm going to take about half of that box. They're actually pretty clean, but I'm still going to rinse them. You always want to make sure you rinse your vegetables before you use them. Okay, and now that those are rinsed, we're ready to break them down a little further. And we're basically just going to pile those up right in a row and just run that knife right through. Just a rough chop. Then you're going to switch that pile over the other way and slice it down that other way. This way, you're ending up with roughly the same size between the mushroom and the onions. Okay, and those are ready. So I'm just going to throw all those in the bowl. These here are going to be for the end. I'll show you how to cut those in a second. And then once we have the peppers assembled, we're going to take this blue cheese and we're going to sprinkle it right over the top. Okay, now that we've got our mushrooms and our onions prepped, what we're going to do is we're just going to take one sprig of green onion and we're going to break that right down. We're going to cut this relatively thin. Try not to shoot them all over the cutting board. That should be plenty. I'm just going to cook a little bit with the rest of the vegetables. And then when it's just about done cooking in the pan, I'm going to add a little bit more to it. Because I like the different texture. Alright, so now we have our vegetables prepped. We've got the mushrooms, the onions, the red onions, and also the nice green onion. Okay, so now that that's done, what we're going to do is bring this up to the medium-high heat, probably around a 7 or an 8. And this time we're going to use a little bit of olive oil to cook with. Just about a tablespoon, just enough to coat the bottom of the pan. I don't want to end up with greasy vegetables. So that pan came right up to heat in about 30 seconds. And just throw those vegetables right in the pan. Give them a quick stir. Make sure that they're coating the bottom of the pan. After about 30 seconds of that just sitting there getting color, what you're going to do is season with just a little bit of pepper. So now that everything's been sitting in the bottom of the pan for just a few minutes and we're getting some color on everything, what I'm going to do is spread it out. Turn the heat down to a simmer, real low heat, and cover that for just 1 minute. We're going to sweat some of the moisture out of the vegetables so that when you start mixing it with the rice, everything comes together really nicely. Cook those off for about another minute under the cover, and just added that to a bowl with the finished and cooked rice. Just going to bring that over here now and start setting up a station so I can stuff these peppers and get ready to eat. Alright, so now I'm ready to rock and roll. Now that I've got all of my stuffing completely cooked and mixed together, I've got the rice, the ground turkey, and all those veggies that we just cooked. So that's ready. What we're going to do is we're going to take one of our nicely steamed peppers, perfect texture. And we're going to set this up right in the dish that we're going to eat in. First thing you're going to do is you're going to fill that with our stuffing with about, I'm going to guess about 4 to 6 nice big spoonfuls right into the center of that. Make sure you really pack this thing full so that you have a nice big serving. Okay, that's stuffed right up to the edge. We're going to add just a little bit of this down to the bottom of the bowl. just like so. Okay, that's good. Next part to that is the best part, the blue cheese. Now, if you don't like blue cheese, obviously you don't have to use it. I'm a huge fan of it, so I'm going to use a ton of it. Take a nice big spoonful of that, or a handful rather. Sprinkle that right over the top. Just like that. Now this is really good blue cheese. This is from Trader Joe's. And it's super sharp. I recommend this brand for the real lovers of blue cheese. And the last part to that, you're going to add some of that green onion that we cooked earlier. You're going to sprinkle that right over the top. Kind of like that. And let's get a close-up. There you go. So there's a nice stuffed pepper. So now I want to circle back around and talk to you about all these leftovers. So I cooked more stuffing than I needed for the amount of people that I was serving. We've got 2 people in my household, so that's only 2, maybe to 4 peppers, depending on how large those end up being. So you're going to end up with a substantial amount of leftovers with those ratios. So usually what I'll do with this type of mixture, and this is what I'll cover in the next episode, is a really nice leftover fried rice. It's really simple. All you do is take those leftovers, start heating it up in a pan, you scramble an egg, you add soy sauce, a little bit of that green pepper, and light it up with some of this fresh squeezed lemon juice right over the top. And man, does that come out good. So that's going to be the next episode. So tune in next time. Thanks. Bye-bye.